Valley Club, is Marvel Strike Force headed in the wrong direction? There's been a lot of good changes over the past year or so, but the past few months have been a real mixed bag. Very questionable character releases, questionable events. So does the game need a course correction right now? In this video, we're gonna go over some of what has been going on, the good and the bad, so that you can decide for yourself if you think this game needs a major shift right now. So if you're ready for all of that and more, then Valley Club, you know what to do. Find that like button and let's go smash it. And welcome back to the ValleyFlyin channel. I am ValleyFlyin and I hope you are having a stupendous day. In this video, we're gonna talk about some of the recent changes in Marvel Strike Force. Some good, some bad. I think a lot of it did have to do with the introduction of diamonds, and we're feeling the effects of that right now. We're gonna get into all that stuff, but before we get into all the recent changes, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button for more great Marvel Strike Force content. Minimum of 5 Marvel Strike Force videos per week, usually more. We had question and answer videos, news videos, reveal videos, everything to help your experience in Marvel Strike Force. But before we get to some of these more heated topics, like the character release cadence, like these pocket dimensions, both the temporal dimensions of the past and the Shatter Dimension is coming up, let's talk about some of the more mixed bag things. And first thing I want to discuss is stores. So I think one of the best stores that they added was all these changes to the raid store. All this teal gear that is in there now, and the costs are much cheaper than they used to be. And that's kind of expected because we have a new crimson gear tier added. And now that we have that, the older teal gear is a lot more available. So I like what they've done here, buying that stuff every day and then increasing a lot of the credits that we're getting. I think that's a great thing. They had a minor change to the arena store here, adding this training module, and that's a good thing. But the rest of these stores need a lot of love. The war store needs some changes as well. Hopefully they start to add more crimson gear to that now that more and more people have Mephisto unlocked. The Crucible store, very, very outdated. It's unfortunate that a lot of the more recent characters go here as their farmability method when the store is overloaded and needs probably a better release for some of these characters as far as the rotation and everything like that. And one of the more outdated stores that I think needs a revamping, not just with the stores, but some of these prices of the stores, from some of these dark diamond credit costs, for some of these dark promo costs, hasn't been updated in a while. And I think this store, at least the cost for some of these older characters, like the Novas, like our Horsemen, needs to be updated, and maybe some of these dark diamond credit costs reevaluated as well. One of the best stores as well, in addition to raid store, is this new radioactive treat store. We can get some purple gear for our characters to get to prepare for ISO 8. So the stores have been kind of a mixed bag. Some good things, some not as good things that's been updated. But probably my favorite, most recent addition is this open all slider here. Previously, we did have a open all button, which would ping the server back and could take hours and hours to open 300 orbs like this. As it is right now, they did fix that. It did break and they fixed it, and now it's immediate almost to get all this stuff. So I like this change. It was an awesome change that they made. Alliance management tools got a lot better recently as well. So if you're an alliance leader or a captain, your job got a lot easier. Or if you're just someone that's looking for an alliance, it's gonna be a lot easier based on this website to find an active alliance that matches what you're looking for in an alliance. Another positive is some changes to blue ISO 8. Just like when they introduced crimson gear, they're kind of reducing the cost of the teal gear. When they introduced the purple ISO 8, they're reducing the cost of switching classes, acquiring, and everything else surrounding this blue ISO 8. So this came a lot easier. We also have another mixed bag in the graphics update. Now, the reason it's a mixed bag, a little too bright, a little too shiny, and some of the raid nodes have a lot of pink all over them. But I think the good news, at least for me, is what this is gonna bring for the future. More environments that can possibly be added, especially coupled with those over-the-air changes. So hopefully this graphics update, I know it doesn't look good right now, but hopefully long-term, this is something that is a positive in the game, and hopefully just a new look to the game with the correct brightness, the correct shine, and everything like that. Hopefully that is a positive thing. And as bad as the release method for Captain Britain and the Annihilators have been, I do want to mention the release method of Aries, because this is something a little different, and we got these awaken abilities here. Everybody is going to be able to get these awaken abilities. So not 4 weeks, the awaken passive everybody should get, because they have these in the free path. And what they say, for the first 4 seasons of the Aries pass, you're going to get 25 of those awakened passives. And in season 5, you're going to get 100. So that should give you the full 200 to get that awakened passive. So Aries could be good in war and the raids. Personally, I think this is a great release method. Everybody is as this character is a little slower. If you're spending money, you could get this character a lot sooner, but if you're not spending money, you still have access to that awakened passive and the character shards to unlock Aries. So I think this is a good release method. So there's been some good things, some not as good things, but I think the big shift in the tone of the community, at least for me, was with the release event of Old Man Logan, stargating Old Man Logan behind his legendary event. Previously, they did do that with all the legendary characters, Omega Red and previous, but after that, it's based more on the challenge and fighting through this. And Old Man Logan, the community did not like that he was stargated. I did not like that either. And what made that release event even worse for me was that the stargating was not even necessary. As the second event rolled around, I was trying for that 7-star Old Man Logan. Difficulty 15 for the Old Man Logan trials. Very, very difficult without the required characters. Not just needing the Out of Time, not just needing the Cabal characters, but also a very built up Super Skrull, a very built up Spider Society. I don't know if you had those characters at less than 7 stars if you would have been able to complete the Old Man Logan trials. So I think, at least for me, that's where a lot of the shift happened with the community, was starting with the first version of the Old Man Logan trials. And while the community was still recovering from that Old Man Logan first trials, we got their Illuminati release, and the Black Panther Shuri, the Hank Pym were promised to be more generous than any other characters that we've had in the past. And I would say that the character shards that we got for them, that was true. But the negative is that the release was surrounding Captain Britain. And to get Captain Britain, you not only needed a 5-star Black Panther Shuri, you also needed a 5-star Hank Pym to get that unlock. And that was before the Hank Pym event rolled around. So very, very expensive character. Most players were upset. Captain Britain was a very expensive character to unlock. There was not a lot of information that was given out around this. They kept a lot of the information about his event, his release, some of the events for Black Panther, Shuri, and Hank Pym very secretive until they went out in the game. So this was a big point of frustration for the community, as to be expected. This was a little different than Zombie Iron Man and Zombie Juggernaut, because even a free-to-play player would be able to unlock those characters. This is the first time that who knows when players are going to be able to unlock Captain Britain. And while some of the more recent releases don't necessarily contradict this, it didn't feel good with a Hank Pym release. His initial launch was on July 11th, but we did not get an event for him, a release event, until August 5th. That is 25 days later. That is the longest time we've ever had a character released and then had their event. But it could be even longer for the Annihilators, because Gladiator, his initial launch was on August 6th. And as of me recording this, on August 27th, no release event in sight for Gladiator. If we look at this calendar that was released, we have an event starting today. Old Enemies doesn't look like it's a release event for Gladiator. Greater Purpose doesn't look like it's a release event for Gladiator. So this is a big problem. And I feel a lot of the problems with the character release cadence goes back to the release of Diamonds. As Diamonds were initially introduced, the envoys gave a lot of feedback like this would not be good, because the original plan did not include increasing the character availability before they added a diamond. So we would just have to be getting lucky in the Red Star store and then hoping these characters would be farmable sometime. I remember Icarus probably took about 2 years before he became farmable. So they added this line, and that was great for players. But the downside for Scopely's end, I don't think they sold as many new character offers. I, for one, was someone that bought all the new character offers so I could make content. As they started getting them more and more available, teams like Spider Society didn't feel I needed them right away. Other teams I didn't feel I needed them right away. And while Scopely's never shared the actual numbers, I feel I'm not the only one that did that. I started buying more of the battle passes. So I think a lot of what we're feeling with the release of Captain Britain, with the release of Hank Pym, and with the release of Gladiator is because they're not selling as many character offers, so they're trying to make the money back in some way, trying to make these events stargated, which doesn't feel good because it locks players out of these characters. We've been asking for harder content for a while, but harder content isn't gating the things. Now, one thing that they did recently that is not really contradictory what they're saying, but is kind of a surprise the way that it was introduced. It was on the bottom of a mail. It said that character shards will not be added to the bumps till around 3 months. And the bumps are the basic orbs, the ultimate orbs, the mega orbs, premium orbs, and the supply store. 3 months have passed, character shard availability will be shifted to an event. So instead of them having an event, or I guess it doesn't say event here, but instead of having them farmable, they're going to be shifted to events. And if we look at the next section, it says there's no changes to the character fountaining date, which is still targeting 4 months, which does align up with what they said in this previous diamond post. So it doesn't feel good that it's a stealth announcement. They should have announced this in a blog post, made this more public, but doesn't necessarily contradict what they say here. So kind of fine with it. Also with the bumps, the orbs and stuff like that, I never would really open those. I would save them up for characters that I need for legendary characters, but I never would end up getting too many shards. So this is not a huge change for me, but let me know your thoughts on this change. Well, let's move on to the issue that has the community the hottest right now, and that is the new Shatter Dimension. So they added a few new game modes. I believe it was either last year or the year before, in the Tower mode and the Pocket Dimensions. Tower mode has been shifted a bunch to 2 different modes, Sword Satellite and Kiln Tower. And Pocket Dimension has been shifted to Temporal Dimension. Now we're getting Shatter Dimension. Now originally, Pocket Dimension was very easy. It had some very good rewards, but the gameplay was very minimal. Took pretty much autoing just to get through all that stuff there. And so it's pretty much just rewards. So players were asking, if you just want to give us rewards, why don't you just give us rewards? Why design this game mode that is just pretty much an auto fest? So I think what they did with the first run of Temporal Dimension, they made it very hard. So if we look at some of the posts at the time that it was released, and this is a post from May 16th, Temporal Dimension is no joke. It's stupid, not a good game mode. It's so hard. It is so overtuned. We have another post here. The Temporal Dimension difficulty was intentional. And we see this emoji here. It was no oopsie. It was clearly planned from the start. Obviously it wasn't, because later what the devs did is give us a bunch of health, too much health in my opinion, which made the next Temporal Dimension very easy. Because for Temporal Dimension 2, they actually use the same health pack. So all those health packs that they gave out from the first Temporal Dimension were able to use for the second Temporal Dimension, became very easy, but they did make a shift. Previously, it looked like Temporal Dimension number 2 required 4 Illuminati characters, which was a problem at the time it was released, because yes, we did have Iron Man in the game, Black Bolt, Mr. Fantastic. The 3 wouldn't have been a problem, but we didn't have a release event for Black Panther Shuri at the time. So what they did, they went back and changed the requirements to only 3 Illuminati characters. And since they've changed the requirements in the past, hopefully with this Shatter Dimension, they could also change some of the requirements. The big problem areas are going to be these Masters mission. You do need only Illuminati at Gear Tier 16, which shouldn't be a problem. They've been farmable for a little while now, especially the original 3 Illuminati and Iron Man, Black Bolt, Mr. Fantastic should not be a problem at all for this. But the Annihilator's mission, because we have not had a release event at all for any of the Annihilators, Gladiator, Gore, or Endgame Thanos, this is going to be a problem. The rest of these, the easier missions, you have the choice to use some cosmic characters. The harder missions, you have a choice to use some legendary characters or some mythic characters. But this middle mission, this Masters mission, only Illuminati characters. Hopefully they could add some more requirements like they have with the harder and the easier missions for this. But let me know your thoughts on this. What can they do to fix it? Is it minimum of 2 Annihilator characters? Adding more traits? What is the best way to fix it so that everybody can have access to this event? And we also got a brand new raid introduced in the game, the Orcus raids. This is a little different than some of the previous green raids that were introduced, the Doom raids, the Incursion raids, where with those raids, you would have the older teams in the start, and then the teams that were outdated, that newer teams were on the horizon. In this example, it would be the Mystic section for the Night Stalkers team and the Tech section for the Orcus team. Both teams are not in the game yet. And I know the community is a little upset about this because we don't have the solution for Mystic. We don't have the solution for Tech right now. Now, for me, I didn't have that much of a problem with this because I think with this change to the reward structure, I think they had that in mind going up. Before, to get to tier 3, you would need 100%. To tier 2, I believe that was either 60% or 70%. And to get to tier 1, you would need to get to at least 30% of the raids. Now, to get to tier 1 rewards, only 10%. 40% for tier 2 and 70% for tier 3. They added this tier 4, which was not there before, which has even more rewards. But just based on this to get where you previously needed to get to, which was, I believe, 60 or 70%, only 40% needed. And so that you can go up in these raids and skip these nodes, kind of like my alliance is doing right here. We're not doing this mystic section, all 3 nodes. We're just going the middle lane. Same thing with this tech section, although this tech section is still very, very tough without the Orcus team. So that's some of the good things and the bad things that happened over the last few months in Marvel Strike Force. Let me know your thoughts on the new character release cadence. Do you want them to switch it back to what it was previously? And let me know your thoughts on content being gated by stars and being paywalled. Never feels good to have paywalled content. I do want everybody to play all the content, but Scopely has some other designs for it. Let me know your thoughts on all of this. I do want to hear from you in the comments, and hopefully you got some value from this video. And if you did, leave the video a like. It is free for you. Tremendously helps out the channel. And if you want to see what are the best characters in Marvel Strike Force, ranked from best to worst, check out the video up there, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day. Hulk fist bump, ValleyFlyin out.